Hello folks, Jonathan Milam here, and as always, I do hope you're having a wonderful day. I've got three instruments here that only have one thing in common, as near as I can tell, and that is they're for sale. I don't like using my channel to push instruments for sale. I do enjoy using my channel to talk about different instruments, to demo them with different mouthpieces and slightly different styles, although I'm not the world's greatest trumpeter. I just enjoy having different instruments and discussing them. But I've got a wonderful cornet, professional model, got a custom horn of relatively recent vintage, and then a vintage Olds Super trumpet with the help, thank God, of a wonderful adapter. I'm going to be playing all of these instruments. Going to start off with the Yamaha cornet, and I'll discuss these instruments a little in depth lately. Nice deep mouthpiece. It's actually a GR6. It would probably be like a maybe a 3B, 5B, 7B, something like that, if you were using trumpet vernacular. Since it's quite a nice, legit mouthpiece, we'll try a legit number played with each of these. Then I'll go to a more of a lead mouthpiece, and then lastly, quite a deep, mellow, deep V British brass band, which would equate pretty much to a trumpet flugel mouthpiece for the trumpets. Okay, going to start off with the old classic Exodus, excellent Yamaha 6335 heavy bell Maestro cornet. That's probably the most challenging piece I'll play, to play it perfectly. Just such a beautiful one, and it yields itself to a nice long tone. Just a bit about this instrument and the next before we get on to it. Very nice horn. I had a 6335 Yamaha cornet years ago. Was not impressed. To me, sounded like a trumpet. This has got the heavy bell, and I am impressed with this trumpet. It does have the double triggers that you see in a lot of professional symphonic horns, and that does indeed make it special. It also has a good amount of lacquer wear. Not sure if you can see that. Obviously, someone with relatively acidic hands ate up the lacquer on this. A few dings as well. Not sure how that worked out, just mostly around the area where the hands went. Might have wore rings, I'm not sure. Light, very light red rot through the lead pipe dezincification, some call it. But it is still solid. It is still no leak detected. And you run a little bit of isopropyl alcohol through the lead pipe area. Run it through with a snake. Do that once a week, and this thing would probably outlast you. Okay, I'm going to compare that, and down at the bottom, of course, anything I've got for sale, the first line under comments, there'll be a link to Trumpet Herald where I have the instruments, any instruments that I have for sale will be listed there. And also, each of the horns, so if you want to snap right away from the Yamaha Maestro, I'll have each clip delineated time-wise, so you can just clip from one to the other. Or if you just want to hear the Yamaha cornet, you can follow the three mouthpieces just like that. Excellent horn here. Custom horn Jaeger. No one with acidic hands has played this. No red rot. mint horn, excellent horn. I've compared the bell visually to several horns that I've got. Gets a little larger through here, slightly larger through the throat for sure than the old Super, which is a relatively tapered piece. And not too large a throat, doesn't eat a mute or anything like that. But wonderful trumpet, just a very fine trumpet. Ivan Hunter in New York made this as a custom horn. It is a very nice trumpet. And it's got good competition. We've got one of the best old Supers I'll play next that I've ever had. And this is with the GR6 cornet mouthpiece with a great adapter there. And we'll still stick with Exodus. Very fine trumpet. I say that a lot. I don't have any student horns, don't have any bad valved instruments, poorly made. You know, most of them are pro horns, Stradivarius, Jaeger, old Super. Who's going to complain about Strad valves or a good vintage old? I think this is the 7th old Super that I've had, 6th or 7th. They've all been at least good horns. This, I believe, is one of the best. Strangely, the old Super does not really seem to be the most mouthpiece sensitive. Some horns are, some horns aren't. I don't know what makes them and what doesn't. This is an Adams A1, Trent Austin's model, with a pretty heavy 55 gauge Adams bell. It has got to be one of the most mouthpiece sensitive trumpets I've ever had. The old Super, not quite so much. Obviously, a deep mouthpiece is going to sound a little more mellow than a lead mouthpiece, but we'll give you an idea what this sounds with, again, with the GR6, which is going to be, again, like probably a Bach 3B, 5B, 7B, something like that. Nice, full, legit sound. Isn't that a good sound? And when I think on these old Supers, I like Trumpet Herald as a forum. Great place for trumpeters to visit, trumpetherald.com. And there was an older guy, Chops Gone was his name. In fact, I bought a couple of horns from him. Very, very fine man. Lives out in the San Francisco Bay Area. But Chop's gone whenever the subject of a old super would come up. He had an old trumpet player that he really admired. And he would always say, if it was good enough for, and he'd name him, and he'd say, it's good enough for me. Old super, you get a good one, and it's a great horn. Now, there was another guy that used to contribute at Trumpet Herald a lot. In fact, I was so impressed. I've gone through and just reread all of the comments that he made in the forum section. Trent Austin, at one point, there's a little argument going on, as forums, are known for. And McGovern came in. Grammar was not his strong point, nor was being politically correct. He just said what he thought and was very emphatic about it. And some guys were dissing him. He had not made a whole lot of posts, apparently, at Trumpet Herald at that time. Trent Austin came on and said, guys, you really don't want to disagree with McGovern, as his username was. He said, you have heard him play whether you know it or not. And that's all Trent said. So I got on to looking, and somehow I found out that McGovern was Mike McGovern, commercial trumpeter, top call in the New York City area. And listened to some recordings that he's got. You can go on YouTube. You can find him. He used to play with Woody Herman, and tremendous trumpeter. But he used to say about the next mouthpiece that I'm going to use, this is a Reeves Reeves medium. And of course I've got a really nice plastic top that I like. I'll think what it is in just a little bit. Maybe acrylic. But at any rate, when people would talk mouthpieces, and Reeves mouthpieces especially, McGovern would say, if you can find a good Reeves M, it's all you need. Relatively shallow mouthpiece, but a nice big throat which takes the bite out of it. And we'll try a little zippier number, starting off with the cornet 6335H, the Maestro, and a Reeves 41M. All right. If you wanted a symphonic type, brass band type cornet, and you were going to be playing some Dixieland, maybe that's what it would sound like. Okay, we'll use that same nice Reeves medium mouthpiece with the Jaeger custom horn. And it's just called the Jaeger. And Ivan said, a friend of mine contacted him, readily responded, which is very, very nice, and said this is one of the few heavier belled Jaegers that he made. Wonderful, wonderful trumpet. A lot of good features on it. In fact, I've got a couple of videos on this Jaeger trumpet. If you search YouTube, Jaeger, Jaeger, Milam, you can find a few places where I've used this with the 41M mouthpiece. Good horns, one and all. And the old super, and incidentally, this is from '63. If you need an olds instrument, and this one is not for sale, you want to go to Syntex Brass, CENTEX.com. Syntex Brass. mouthpieces.com. I'll put a link to it down there. Clay works there, sells these horns, knows a tremendous amount, and was just reading, he's got a old Super, I think from 65 or 66. He said a good time for olds. And I was thinking while I was waiting on this horn to come in, good, hopefully this will be a good one. It was a good time for olds. So the Super with the Reeves 41M mouthpiece. Okay, now we'll go to a deeper cornet mouthpiece. This is a Curry BBB, probably for British brass band. I know it's got a good sized drill. I believe that is about a 19, very deep V. And when we get to the trumpets and we're playing with this, it would probably equate a little bit to like a good trumpet flugel mouthpiece. Now, I'm going to start off with the cornet, and we'll say you're playing a pops thing. I'll play something that will loosely resemble Summertime. Okay, we'll try that same thing. And this adapter, this is a GR adapter. Reeves makes them as well, but just so nice to have around. You know, I wish I could have all of the cornet mouthpieces. I wish you could have that same cup in trumpets, but the adapter really does enable you to use, if you've got a cornet mouthpiece that you love that's just distinct, you know, just throw the adapter in, then it'll work for a trumpet. And we'll try the Jaeger custom trumpet with that same Curry BBB cornet mouthpiece. And we'll use that same deep V mouthpiece, large drill, on the 1963 old Super. Now, I'll say again, to me, it just doesn't seem that the old Super is quite as sensitive to mouthpiece changes as some other horns. However, with every mouthpiece, it just gets a nice tone. To my way of thinking, this is a smaller, trim bell, easy to control. Easy to control. I don't find it to be a tight instrument, but that really is probably a result more of the lead pipe and mouthpiece receiver possibly, although every facet of the horn does affect everything. But just old Super, you get a good one, and it is super. All right, folks, as always, appreciate the time with you. If you're able to give a thumbs up down below, I like that because Google likes that. And while I don't like peddling horns on the web, I really do not enjoy selling horns as much as I used to. Years ago, it was kind of a challenge. How much can I get out of this? How much can I clean it up? How good of pictures can I take? How much, value can I show for it? Honestly, just don't enjoy it. But I can't get more horns to make YouTube videos unless I sell some that I have. So we do have to do that upon occasion. Long and short of it, take care of yourself and someone near you.